I do know that Mario Rosenstock has walked into the studio, but what lies ahead? Mario, good morning.
I'm absolutely delighted to be here, Pat. I'm going to start as myself and work my way up.
Work your way up. We go back a long way.
We do. Sorry, I nearly did you there. Doing me, doing you. But the reason we go back a long way is because I was sending some notes to your charming producer, Emer. And it reminded me 25 years of Gift Grub that you were the first Late Late show that I ever did. And I had just started Gift Grub, and we'd released a CD, which was a little envelope CD. It was Bertie's envelope. Yeah. And it was in the shape of an envelope because Bertie Ahern was the star of Gift Grub. And you brought me onto the Late Late Show, and I started doing Eddie Irvine, girls, 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 girls.
And Mackleton Higgins said, I didn't realise Mackleton Higgins would last so long as he did, but at the time I think he was Minister for Arts and Culture. And she'd been escorting Mel Gibson around, trying to sell him the idea of doing Braveheart in Ireland a couple of years previously. And he was very softly spoken like that.
And still is.
And still is. And of course, some of these characters have lasted as long as I've lasted, 25 years.
Now, when you do someone like Bertie, and I mean, you had a forerunner in the great late Dermot Morgan, who famously did Michael Noonan so brilliantly.
Yes.
The junior minister and all of that sort of thing. But really, when you took on a Taoiseach, wasn't that very brave at the time?
I was too young to know any difference, Pat, and we were all too poor in TodayFM to care. TodayFM was a small station. It was struggling at the time. It was Radio Ireland was known as Radio 0%. And this dashing 46-year-old Taoiseach came on the scene. Now remember, 25 years ago, Bertie was 46. And in 1997, he was elected Taoiseach, and nobody had been doing him, and so I decided that I had I had the impression of Bertie down, and the fact of the matter is, Pat, that I could spend all day answering your questions, but the reality of the situation is, and the fact of the matter is, that going forward in the medium term, when political footballs have been kicked to touches, that if you talk to me for an hour, I still won't say anything to you. And it's funny, I have a little anecdote actually, because Bertie was interviewed about Gift Grub recently in the Skylon Hotel. And the two people who interviewed him, and he said, I'd like to pass on my best to Mario for making all this money on my back. And he owes me a pint. And then at the end of the interview, he showed them his phone. And on his phone, he had a clip on YouTube of one of my sketches. And it was Bertie meets Bosco. And Bosco is calling him a fibber and a liar and a la la. And he's like, I love this one. This is my favourite one.
So have you ever had negative reaction from people?
Oh, plenty.
I mean, when you've done them. I mean, Roy Keane, for example.
No, he's Roy Keane. You know yourself. He knows show business. He's a star at the end of the day. You know. I actually developed my Roy Keane from watching you interview him on The Late Late Show. You had him on in about 1998-9 when he was kind of captain of Manchester United. Yeah. He was sitting in the audience, and you said to him, you came down and said, so Roy, 50 grand a week. I guess the pints are on you down in the Temple Acre Tavern. And Roy just kind of batted his eyelids and went, I don't know about that, Pat. And it was a little chuckle. The self-deprecating Cork chuckle, which I found endearing, and I started bringing that into my routine of Roy, that he had this kind of sneaky little laugh.
Did you meet face to face?
And then we met face to face, and that was the most, the singular, I'm not joking, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it was the singular most terrifying moment of my life, because my career spun on a dial in front of me. I walked into a room with him in the Radisson Hotel in Stillorgan, a large room. He approached me, he stuck out his hand. His hands were like as I was saying the other night, the velociraptors in Jurassic Park. Yeah. He was like a dinosaur, and he has penetrating green eyes, and he looked into my eyes as if he was contemplating how he would eat me, not how he would meet me, but how he would dispose of me. We sat down, and I had to just pretend I was Roy Keane to Roy Keane, and I was there. Well, obviously, at the end of the day, when people say I talk like you at the end of the day, and he just looked at me and went, "Nah, you don't. You don't talk like me at all." And I went, well, obviously people say I do. I laugh like you. He said, I don't laugh like that. I went, no, you do at the end of the day. And he went, make me laugh. Ooh. So being asked to make Roy Keane laugh is easily the most horrific thing that you can imagine in your life. So I just blurted out the first thing that came into my mind, and that was, the FAI is a monument to professionalism at the end of the day. And he went, ha, 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 ha. So he started, I made him laugh out of derision rather than anything else.
Now, you did have to do José Mourinho in Chelsea.
That's right.
In front of José.
Yes, I had written a song called José and His Amazing Technicolor Overcoat, which was about the genius that is José. And when we're doing Gift Grub, we always try to bring something extra to the character. We don't just go, I can do the voice. Pat Kenny is very nice. I like Pat Kenny very well. He is the José Mourinho of broadcasting. He is 142 years of age, but still going strong. He's incredible. He presented the Late Late Show for 53 years. He does the Pat Kenny Show for 46. So we tried to bring something extra to the equation. And my thing was that José was a man of magic. He was like this, had this black coat. He was like a magician, but he was also like a kind of a crooner, a kind of a Julian Iglesias character that could walk into a dressing room. They're all worried, and he'd just sing them a song, and everything would be fine. Mm-hmm. And so he sang a version of "Any Dream Will Do," and I made it "Any Team Will Do." The idea that he could pick any team in the world, and it would beat any team. And then he invited me over to Chelsea to perform in the team room with 33 multimillionaires. And I was doing him in front of him in the black coat with the scarf in front of Drogba and Makelele and all these people, and they were staring up at me smiling. Hadn't a clue what I was talking about, Pat, because most of them didn't speak English. So, and then
nor had they seen Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat.
No, so I must have been a complete mystery to them. And
mind you, that was prophetic because, he's progressed on. Any team will do.
Any team will do, and he will take any team will do. This was more to discuss his rotation tactics, that he could pick any team, and it was the specialness of José.
Now, some people are God's gift to impressionists, are they not? Now, who did you like best? I mean, Boris, for example, was he one of your favourites?
No, Boris. But I love doing Boris, and I love this whole. There is a relationship, of course, between Boris and Bertie. The idea of subverting the question, not answering the question, never actually getting to the substantive issue of what you are talking about at any particular point in time, Pat Kenny, but just simply blackguarding and bluffing your way through Alistair Campbell, all these sort of people, idiots, Paul Harrington, fantastic rock and roll kids. We were the rock and roll kids. Rock and roll was all we did. Listening to those songs on the radio, Pat. He just makes it up as he goes along. The problem with somebody like Boris, and you say I would have enjoyed doing him, is that you feel a guilt as a satirist or a mimic sometimes doing people like Boris or Trump, because you feel that you're somehow enabling them, that you are allowing them into this cuddly club of people you ridicule, and that you are forgetting the fact that these guys could destroy the world. I mean, in Trump's case, literally destroy the world. And so to make fun of Trump is a very double-edged sword.
Because it might lead to some affection for the character.
Exactly. So the idea that I've often been accused of enabling Bertie Ahern, and the idea that people would write and go, he got Bertie Ahern into office. Now, of course, I didn't, but because of the enormous power of radio and the success of on TodayFM, a lot of people would come up to me over the last 20 years and they'd say, the only way I know anything through politics is through Gift Grub. And I'd be going, that is a very dangerous situation to be in. And so if I was reflecting what Bertie was, so if I didn't go on every morning about that tribunal, because, I'm sorry, but I was reflecting the way the public saw Bertie, the Sky Sports, the Bass, the Dubs, all that sort of stuff. And in a way, that kind of cuddlifies him, makes him easier to like. And if you do that with somebody like Trump, you're into another area altogether. I mean, an area where you're enabling a monster.
And when did you discover that you have this gift for mimicry?
I was very young. I was
really
5.
Can you remember who you did?
I can. I remember. I was with my father, I think it was, and my father, for some reason, had a semi-Eastern European accent. And we come from German heritage. My granddad...
Rosenstock stock.
Yeah, exactly, Rosenstock stock. My granddad was a German officer in the Second World War and a doctor. And he came over to Ireland and set up his family here. So there was a bit of German in the family. And I remember my mum and my dad arguing, and I was tiny, I was 5. And I remember trying to get their attention and it wasn't working. So I decided I'd do an impression of him. So I said, "What are you talking about?" And my mother turned around and went, "It's you." It's you. And typically, like everybody else between him and Joan Burton, he went, "That's not me. I don't sound like that at all." And the amount of times I've been told that, Pat, that the person you're doing an impression of says to you, that doesn't sound like me. John Burton saying, you can't do me at all. You're great at Willie O'D, but you can't do me. And then Willie O'D saying, well, you're great at doing Michael Noonan, but you can't do me. And I remember Michael Noonan, you were talking about Dermot Morgan there the other day. I remember seeing the sausage finger of Michael Noonan beckoning me over, going, why don't you ever do me at all? You're always doing your man Bertie on the radio. You never do me.
What about Miriam?
Genuinely, I love Miriam, and I know you bring her up because it's a sore point, Pat. You walked out on me, Pat. You walked out 20 years together, Pat. We had such fun. You left us, Pat. You left us in the dungeons of RTE. Why, Pat? For the big money. Here, we could all go for the money if we really wanted to, Pat. But some of us stayed. You didn't stay.
Your biggest undertaking ever is coming up next year, but we'll talk about that in a moment.
Yeah.
Just wanted to advert to one thing. I didn't realise that you were kind of typecast, given that your grandfather was a doctor in World War II, a German in the German force, and you became a doctor in Glenroe.
That's right. I got the part of the young doctor in Glenroe when I was 21 years of age, and my first line is Dick Moran, God bless Emmett Bergen, who died recently. A brilliant actor, superbly handsome man, and a great stage presence. The beautiful Emmett Bergen was having a heart attack, or so Wesley Burroughs wrote for him. Yeah. And in comes this doctor, and Emmett Bergen goes, Jesus, Mary, take him away from me. He looks about 12. And that reflected the idea that Wesley Burroughs had something wrong with him heart-wise. Yeah. And when he had called a doctor, the doctor was a new type of doctor, not the old stethoscopy kind of doctor. It was a young doctor, and it kind of gave him a shock.
So art imitating life.
Yeah.
Finally, your biggest challenge, filling the Three Arena.
Filling the Three Arena, where you commentated, didn't you? On the
I did.
You did the point, didn't you?
I did the point, and I did a couple of things. I mean, I did big fashion shows in the point as well.
Well, some of those we'll forget about, Pat, those fashion shows. For the moment, we won't slag you off about those. But yes, the Three Arena. So to celebrate 25 years of Gift Grub on the radio, I decided to do something, as they say, that would scare you.
Absolutely. How many standing and seated?
No, not standing, Pat. I wouldn't subject people to standing watching me. They can at least sit down.
There'll be no mosh pit for you.
No mosh pit for me, even when I'm doing Michael Flatley.
Okay. What date? And
it's Friday.
Opening when?
It's Friday, March 28th, 2025. Tickets went on sale last Friday, and they're flying.
And they're flying. Maria Rosenstock, what a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us.